are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, well, welcome to episode 3. This is our third and once again slightly improved podcast. I'm Drew Robinson. This is Take It to the House. Alex Deitz joining me again as we will be discussing the 4 games in the NFL playoffs we had this past weekend. We will look forward to next week in our second segment, and then our third segment will probably be a little bit short this week, but we're going to sort of talk about a couple of other miscellaneous things as we move forward in the third segment. So moving right into the games from this weekend, Saturday we had a couple of games. Really, out of all 4 games, this was the one that sort of got a little bit out of hand at the end. Baltimore beat Houston 34-10. Houston tied the game at 10 apiece. Had a chance to be up 13-10, but missed a field goal in the second quarter. And then Houston just couldn't stop Baltimore. And for some reason, it just kind of seemed like they were like, oh, maybe we should be spying on Lamar Jackson, because the man-to-man coverage with runs right up the middle just indicated strict, cover zero.
Right.
And it was a little bit puzzling, but at the same time, Baltimore is a better team. Houston began to struggle a little bit on offense. Obviously, they didn't score in the second half. But it was interesting. I do want to sort of get into the details of the quarterback play. But just in general, Alex, what was your takeaway, or what did you see in this game that you wanted to talk about?
I think you kind of hit it on the head. I was kind of feeling like, last week's matchup with the Browns is going to be a little more closer, just because like the experience in the defense. And so going into this week, I was kind of relying on that same kind of. They've been here, the Ravens have. Their defense is really strong. And just the experience. I know Lamar struggled in the playoffs, but he still got, 5 or 6 games under his belt, some learning experiences. And I thought he, played great. And, just limiting Texans offense. They're a young team with a young quarterback. So I feel like overall, I think, you got to feel good about what you've done. Obviously losing that game sucks, but I just think looking in the future, I feel very good about them, and I'm also excited for the Ravens. I think it was a nice decisive win. After a long couple weeks off, you can be a little rusty, but I thought they looked pretty good. Their offense was moving. Lamar looked good, and they look like they're going to be a force to reckon with next week.
Yeah, I think so. And we mentioned last week that the sort of the 3 teams that probably felt good about just getting this far, Green Bay, Houston, and Tampa Bay, all 3 of them lost. Moving on to the second game, I don't have much more to say about the Ravens and the Texans. The Ravens have looked like the best team in the AFC for a while.
Yeah.
They're going to have their hands full this coming week. We'll kind of see what happens, and we'll get into that in a minute. But moving on to Green Bay, San Francisco, I think probably the biggest. Well, I don't know about the biggest, but it was surprising and pleasantly surprising to see this game be so tight. But here's my big takeaway from this game. Obviously, everybody's talking about Jordan Love's last interception.
Right.
Probably talk a little bit about Baker Mayfield's last interception later, but that interception was across his body. It was early in the drive.
Right.
It was first down.
Situational awareness.
That's what you want to say is a rookie mistake.
Right.
I don't understand why a rookie in the NFL, which Jordan Love is in his second year, is that right?
Or third? I think third.
Okay, so people like to say it's a rookie mistake. The truth is, if you've been playing football since you were 10 years old,
right,
you need to know that's a dumb play.
Right, it's not 14
If I were coaching, and I have before, 12-year-olds, I would say that's a dumb play.
Yeah.
Don't do that, especially early in the drive. Understand you've got time to go down and and win the game, and really only need to drive down and kick a field goal.
Right.
So the interesting thing about that is, just like I said last week, Jordan Love makes some great throws.
Right.
He is a great talent. I think he's got a bright future. I should say I hope he's got a bright future. He seems like a good dude. I like his relatively calm demeanor. Brock Purdy's the same way, just really steady. But Brock Purdy, I would say the same thing. Is I don't ever feel, and we'll get to some of the other quarterbacks in a second. Lamar Jackson, I kind of do, but with C.J. Stroud, with Brock Purdy, even though they won, and with Jordan Love, I never really feel confident. I feel unsettled. I feel like, oh no, what is he gonna? I just feel like I don't have a lot of confidence in those guys. Now, Brock Purdy made some great throws, really great throws, and out of the four quarterbacks we talked about so far, you might think we were looking at a stat sheet from the 70s,
right?
Because Brock Purdy had 252 yards passing. Obviously, there are more attempts. There are a lot of dink and dumps, a lot of check downs, a lot of reading the progressions, and defenses are taking away. They don't want big plays. Now, Deebo Samuel being hurt was huge. Hopefully his shoulder will be healed up and he'll be back next week. They definitely need him. But it just seemed like we're in a new era of NFL quarterbacks, but I'm realizing how spoiled we were for about a decade and a half, when it wasn't only Brady and Manning, but it was Aaron Rodgers and it was Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And even the next level quarterbacks of the last era, the Phillip Rivers, the Romo. I mean, but teams were just gunning the ball.
Right.
And so now it's like we've reached almost like a new era of the NFL, especially with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, where we're back to, quarterbacks that can run, particularly with Josh Allen, and we'll get to this more detail in a second. But I think Josh Allen's game is limited, and I almost feel like some of the things I was thinking about Josh Allen were the things that we talked about with Penix, with Washington in college. I almost feel like the Bills are relying on Josh Allen to do so much that he is not mastering some fundamentals of playing the quarterback position.
Right.
And he's doing some things that are phenomenal that are due to his talent and athleticism, but it's kind of like the guy that has awesome dunks and he's got all these highlights, but he misses wide open threes and he's got a crappy free throw shot percentage. And so, with Purdy and Love, if I'm San Francisco right now, I'm breathing a sigh of relief, but I am concerned.
Yeah.
And I'm particularly concerned because of Detroit. When as a Bucs fan, I was just saying, and I'm sorry for you to hear this, Alex. Alex is a little bit of a Packer fan, but I just said, oh no, Green Bay cannot come back. I do not want to go to Green Bay and play in Lambeau in the tundra. I'd much rather go play at San Francisco next week. And quite honestly, we beat the Bucs beat the Packers the last time they played, and the Packers looked really bad leading up to the playoffs for several weeks, and then the Packers squeaked their way in the playoffs, and they looked really good against the Cowboys, and they looked really good against the 49ers at times. So I think the Packers are overall pleased with what happened. I think the 49ers are breathing a sigh of relief, but I also believe that they're probably not as confident as Detroit going into this championship, even though it's going to be, in the Bay Area. But what were your thoughts on Packers Niners?
Yeah, I thought, I think it felt a little different. The second half of the season, or even the third quarter, late fourth quarter of the season, I thought Jordan Love was playing his best football. We really hadn't seen him in a position where he had to, drive down the field and come back. And so, obviously, like you said, there was some inexperience in that position and some poor situational awareness, which hurt as a fan just watching that. It's not like it's 4th and 25 with 5 seconds to go, man. Like, live to see another day. But overall, I was happy with their performance. I thought they had some pretty big runs. I thought Aaron Jones looked really good. Their run game. I think I'm a little worried if I'm a 49er fan. Their defense, I thought Jordan Love looked solid most of the game, and I thought they also ran the ball with some success. And the Lions' O-line is, feels like a top 5 O-line in the NFL. So that front four of San Francisco is going to have to come ready to play. And then I think just as the Packers season in totality, obviously I wanted to win that game, but I also was thinking, after we lost, what if we win that game and I think we have a chance of beating the Lions or the Bucks, and we go to the Super Bowl. Now is there going to be some massive pressure moving into next season as one of the youngest teams? We're going to put a lot of extra pressure on Jordan Love. I was like, it's almost, you never say it's good to lose, but it's just remember you're a young team. You don't want to have so much success so early. Now that it's okay, well, it's Super Bowl or bust. We're that
Yeah,
good.
well, and it's almost at this point in the program,
Right?
At this point in the organizational building, it's almost better to lose a divisional game than to lose a Super Bowl.
Right.
It's always better to win a Super Bowl.
Of course.
But I think what you're saying is kind of the same thing that I would say with the Bucks. Although I feel like the Bucks are a little bit different because Baker has had a few years under his belt. He's had a little bit of playoff experience, and the Bucks have some Super Bowl champions on their team. Well, yeah, and just to back up and closing out on the Saturday games, C.J. Stroud, 19 for 33, 175 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But the Houston offense ran for 38 yards.
Wow.
So their total offense was
220.
Yeah. I mean, not even that. 175 plus 38. That's 210, two something.
Wow.
So total offense. Baltimore, Lamar 16 for 22,
Right.
a little fewer attempts, 152 yards, 2 touchdown passes.
Right.
But he also had 2 rushing touchdowns, 100 yards rushing. And Dalvin Cook had 23. Gus Edwards, Justice Hill had 66. They had 229 yards on the ground.
Wow.
So Baltimore with 355, something like that, yards total offense. But you look at that game and you look at what the way Baltimore is winning. It's old school football.
Right.
It looks a little different than the 70s because Lamar Jackson is so talented. But they are attempting more throws, but the short passing game is the new rushing game,
Right?
And that's been the case for a long time. But I think the difference in some of these younger quarterbacks and the Bradys and the Mannings is I think the Bradys and the Mannings were dinking and dumping because they were disciplined,
right?
And they were doing that to bait certain defenders to get the big throw.
Yeah.
And they were making the big time throws very accurately and they were getting the big plays. And then moving on to just the quick stat sheet of the late game. Jordan Love 21 for 34, 194, 2 touchdowns but 2 picks. Brock Purdy 23 for 39, 252 and a touchdown, no picks. Christian McCaffrey had almost 100 yards, 98 yards rushing. So the 49ers overall 245 in the air, 111 on the ground. So that's again about almost 360. And then Green Bay 194 and 136. So that's about 330. So pretty close. Obviously the two picks were the difference.
Right.
And I do think Aaron Jones was great.
Yeah, he was.
He looked really good, and both of those teams were playing a lot of physical football and trying to run the ball. So okay, well, moving to Sunday. Interestingly, this was the game that looked a little bit more like traditional NFL football. Baker 26 for 41, 349.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns, 2 picks. The early one was off of Evans' hands. Mayfield does have a tendency to zip those little short passes a little too hard. But Jared Goff 30 for 43, 287.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns, no picks. Bucks had 89 yards rushing. Detroit had 114 yards rushing. So just really, really close on the stats. St. Brown had a big game. Laporta had a huge game, the tight end. 9 catches for the tight end. The Bucks, Evans had a couple really nice big plays. Godwin was a little bit underwhelming for what he can do, and Cade Otton, the tight end for the Bucks, had a bunch of catches, and the Bucks, they threw to, looks like they had 8 receivers, and so did the Rams. The Rams, the Lions had 8 receivers make catches. So yeah, and I think the big takeaway from this game is the Bucks missed some opportunities. They did. I think it stood out, and Collinsworth pointed this out in the game, which I don't love Chris Collinsworth, but he was correct in saying they had 3 drives end because of unblocked blitzes.
Wow.
So they Detroit brought pressure from different places, but each time there was a sack due to a completely unblocked player, and it was always the edge too. Right. It was different players, but either Baker's got to see that and they've got to adjust their coverage. Their pass pro, yeah. Or Baker's just got to be ready to get rid of it, and he did on several occasions. He read it, and he did a good job getting rid of the ball. In fact, not the last touchdown, but their second to last touchdown to Rachaad White, when he threw that screen to the right side, it was a perfect read, and he just walked in the end zone. So 31-23, kind of like Baltimore, Detroit has kind of felt like pretty much the best team. San Francisco too.
Right.
But Detroit has been a force to be reckoned with all year.
Yeah.
And it's just no surprise that they won the game. I felt like they were the better team. I think Detroit has the best passing quarterback that's left in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Jared Goff is not only protecting the ball, but he's making consistent throws that you expect an NFL quarterback to make. Brock Purdy would make a great throw, and then he'd miss a swing pass.
Yeah.
Or and then I didn't see any real big throws down the field. Jared Goff will sling the ball down the field, and he has a lot of confidence right now. He is a prototypical NFL quarterback. Now, as we get into the Sunday games, or the second Sunday game, obviously big quarterback matchups, and it was really probably the biggest game everybody was looking forward to. Again, Mahomes had 215 yards passing.
Yeah. Josh
Allen had 186 yards passing. Yeah. The big plays just aren't there. You're kind of missing Tyreek Hill, and you kind of realize how much Tyreek Hill made Travis Kelce get open. But the Chiefs don't seem to have. Um, they don't see. I mean, Pacheco was their
Leading rusher.
leading rusher. You know, he had a nice game. Kelsey had 75 yards. Valdez Scantling had 62. Um, and then Kincaid for the Bills 45 yards. Um, Shakir had 44. Latavius Murray 27. Stephon Diggs 21.
Dropped a
Um,
60-yard pass.
yes,
Right.
yes, that was a big one that Stephon Diggs probably wishes he could have back.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when you run the ball as much as Josh Allen does, it is really difficult to get into a rhythm of throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen is not throwing he's not doing exactly what Jared Goff is doing.
Right.
He's not throwing the timing routes. He's not uh he's it's almost like he's dropping back and he's looking for a guy, and if his guy isn't there, he's taking off and running.
Right.
And I know it's not always that simple, but um it's just the formula that the Bills have right now is not a championship formula.
Yeah.
They have got to get they have got to build their passing game in a way that Josh Allen can beat you with his arm. But right now, I think I think people know how to beat the Bills.
Right.
And you would think people know how to beat the Ravens, but we haven't seen that yet. And Lamar Jackson has done a better job than Josh Allen, in my opinion, of sort of selectively running the ball. It feels like with Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is running when it's called.
Right.
But there are a couple of times that he'll scramble, but when he drops back, he doesn't give me the feeling he wants to take off and run.
Right.
He's comfortable
Trying to sit back.
sitting in the pocket and ripping a great throw down the field. I don't feel that Josh Allen is comfortable
Yeah.
in the pocket at all.
No, it's a little like high school-esque. Like you said, you're looking at that first read, the guy that you keep doing. And if he's not there, it's like, all right, like, how can I get, 8 to 10 yards here on my next rush? Like, it's like, man, you're quarterback in the NFL, like you said, go through your progressions. And it's not like, the O-line's not doing their job. Like, you're having some time back there to throw. And, I think you would always talk about, like the rhythm throws. That's another thing. Like with Baker, you can see it like a couple times yesterday. Like they go quick. Baker hits a couple quick throws, and everything's like in rhythm, and it just looks like really good. The timing's great, and like you said, like John, there is no timing. It's everything. Every big play with him isn't a timing play. It's just off script, whether it's a run or give him credit for that amazing touchdown pass in the corner, but that's like another off script play. So it's just like you just can't continue. I think, like you said, to win in the NFL when everything is going to be off script. Like you gotta hit your drop backs and hit your throws and your timing routes and stand in there like an NFL quarterback. And so,
Well, he fumbled and
right,
almost turned the ball over, but he didn't throw the ball to the Chiefs.
right,
Um, that like the Baker interception, for example, to
yeah,
me, that was not like the Jordan Love interception.
right,
The Baker interception was, you see the linebacker turn his hips, you're going to put it to the tight end right by the ear hole, and couple of things, he just didn't, he underthrew it. You've got to make sure that you lead the guy so that the linebacker can't get it, and the linebacker did make a great pick on that play. So I don't think that was a bad read. I think it was just slightly underthrown. There were a couple of misses. Like I think there was a third down, I remember in the fourth quarter, where Godwin kind of was in the hole between the cover two,
yes,
and Baker overthrew him.
yeah,
Um, so I think with Baker, he's got to get a little bit either in sync with the pass pro, which that may be more on the line, I don't know, or or he's just got to keep working on getting better throws. I do think though, when you're the Buccaneers and you give up three straight uh, you know, 75 plus yard touchdown drives
Yeah.
in the second half, that's a problem.
Right.
And as soon as Dean, the number 35, the corner, as soon as Dean went out, the Bucks defense was toast. It
Yeah.
was almost like I don't know if you remember the guy, the safety for the Colts, Sanders. But the Colts defense was
Bob
like,
Sanders?
yeah, Bob
Yeah.
Sanders was like the heart of that defense.
Yeah.
And I thought the linebackers played well. I thought the line did fairly well for the Bucks. And Dean's not necessarily the heart of the defense,
Right.
but Dean, they went after McCollum,
Yeah.
who went in for Dean,
Yeah.
because they stayed away from Winfield.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, they went after McCullum when he came in for Dean, and several times just kind of torched him. And McCullum didn't do terribly, but again, Goff made the timing throws. He put the ball where it needed to be.
Well, I think Goff had like 99 yards in the first half throwing, and so they had like done their job, and then obviously he finished with 280, so he had at least 190 yards. Like, it's like, wow, like the noticeable difference. And I think Collinsworth mentioned it, like Devin White, matched up with Laporta a lot the first time around, and they, he's like he was just shocked like that they're not running more man coverage, and because Laporta, like you said, was gashing him, and yards after the catch underneath, and it was like, hey, we're gonna like. It's kind of like somebody blocked Aiden Hutchinson. The same thing. Like, you gotta make him at least a little uncomfortable. So yeah, the passing attack was nice, and I was really impressed with Jared Goff. Like, I kind of had like I'm holding my breath a little bit about Jared Goff. Like, just because I haven't seen a ton of success. Obviously, he went to the Super Bowl, so you got to give him credit. But I thought he looked really sharp yesterday, and I think he looked like the best quarterback, like you said, in the playoffs, like this weekend. Like, I thought he looked the best out of, even Patrick Mahomes. Like, he just his throws, timing, where to put the ball. I was like, wow, I was impressed.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Let's go ahead and wrap up this segment. We're gonna look ahead in the next segment. We'll kind of look ahead with the losing teams, and then look ahead to the two championship games. So. Let's go ahead and wrap up for now. This is Take It to the House. We'll be right back.